Have you ever wondered why the baobab tree holds such a revered place in African culture? This ancient giant is more than just a tree. It is a living spirit, a guardian of secrets, a keeper of time, and some say a doorway between the living and the dead. Across the savannas, deserts, and forests of Africa, the baobab stands tall, wide, wise, and oddly shaped, as if the gods planted it upside down. But why? What story hides within its roots and bark? Come closer, let me tell you a story from long ago, when spirits walked among men, and every tree had a soul. In the heart of the land, before kingdoms were built and maps were drawn, there was a village called Mboli, known for its peace, its laughter, and the sacred tree that stood at its center. The tree's name was Engali. But Engali was no ordinary tree. Its trunk was so wide that 10 grown men could not wrap their arms around it. Its roots stretched across the village like quiet rivers, and its branches danced with the stars. Children played beneath it, elders rested in its shade, and travelers always stopped to whisper a prayer. The villagers said, "Engali listens." And they believed that the tree remembered everything. But Engali had not always been a tree. Long before it took root, Engali was a spirit, a towering guardian made of wind and shadow, of firelight and song. He wandered the earth, guiding the lost, calming storms, and sheltering the weak. His heart beat with the rhythm of the land. But as the centuries passed, Engali grew weary. Humankind was changing. Greed slithered into once peaceful lands. Brothers turned against brothers. Forests were burned for gold. Spirits were forgotten. One day, Engali knelt before the great river and whispered to the winds, "I have seen too much. I will walk no more. Let me stand and watch. Let me hold the stories in silence." When Jumo first arrived in Mboli, he didn't come quietly. He came riding on the back of a dust-covered camel, his skin kissed by distant suns, his fingers heavy with golden rings, and his robe flowing like royalty. His sandals barely made a sound as he stepped onto the village soil, but his presence was thunder. Children peeked at him from behind their mothers' wrappers. Elders watched from their wooden stools, suspicion lining their eyes. Even the dogs quieted, sensing something foreign had entered their land. Jumo looked around with curiosity, but not the kind that seeks to understand, his was the kind that searches for treasure. His eyes gleamed at every mud hut, every woven basket, and every quiet, humble smile he met. But then, he saw it. Engali. The sacred tree stood tall at the heart of Mboli, its roots tangled like stories whispered across generations, its trunk wide enough to hold the sorrows of 1,000 lives, and its leaves green even in dry season. Children played under its shade, lovers made promises beneath its arms, and elders sat near it to remember. But Jumo only saw timber. He walked toward it slowly, fingers twitching with a greedy awe. He chuckled, running a hand over its bark. "This tree," he said aloud, voice full of hunger, "this tree is wealth. Its wood could build 10 palaces. I will be rich beyond measure." The air shifted. The laughter of children died. A woman dropped her calabash. Birds that had perched peacefully among Engali's branches flew away in a flurry of feathers. Silence gripped the village like a clenched fist. One by one, the villagers backed away. Even the chief, who rarely left his compound, stood in stunned silence, his jaw tight with disbelief. Then came Mama Deka. She approached Jumo, her faded wrapper tied tightly around her waist, her voice soft but fierce. "Stranger," she said, "you laugh at the roots of our people." Jumo turned, amused. "Old mother, I mean no harm. I only see opportunity. This tree." She raised a hand, silencing him. "That is Engali," she whispered, stepping closer. "He is older than time. He grew here when our ancestors still spoke with the stars. He listens. He remembers. He protects. He punishes." Jumo's smile faltered. Mama Deka's eyes locked onto his. Many have come with golden rings and hungry eyes. They thought they could take what was never offered. They never left the same. Jumo scoffed, though a bead of sweat rolled down his brow. Stories to scare children. She shook her head slowly. No, child. Stories to warn men like you. A young girl tugged at Mama Deco's wrapper. Tell him, Mama. Tell him about the man who took a branch. The old woman nodded, her voice low. Once, a traveler broke a piece of Engali to carve a pipe. He laughed, just like you. That night, the winds turned against him. He cried to the star, but Jumo's ears were deaf to wisdom. The elders warned him. The hunter spoke in hushed tones. The children clung to their mothers when they heard his plans. But Jumo only laughed. A tree is a tree, he said. No spirit. No magic. Just roots and bark. That night, beneath a half-moon sky veiled in thin clouds, Jumo returned. He was not alone. He brought tools, axes forged from the stronger steel, ropes soaked in oil to ensure a clean pool, and 5 men, all paid with silver and palm wine. They were strangers to the village. They had not grown up with the stories. They did not fear what they did not understand. They laughed as they approached the ancient baobab. The laughter was loud. Too loud. As if they were trying to drown out the tightness in their chests. As if they were trying to convince themselves they were not afraid. This is the mighty Engali, one mocked. Looks like any other old tree to me. Jumo lifted his axe high, his muscles tense with pride and defiance. He brought it down with a shout. Clang. The sound rang out like a bell struck wrong. The axe blade shattered on contact, split clean in two like glass on stone. Then, silence. The wind stopped mid-breath. The animals, frogs, crickets, owls, fell still. Even the stars blinked out, as though the sky had shut its eyes. Then, it came. A low rumble, like the growl of an unseen beast, rising from beneath the earth. Jumo stood frozen. The bark glowed like coals. Vines, thick and green, slithered out from the roots. They wrapped around his ankles, then his knees, climbing higher. His last scream was cut off, swallowed by the storm. And then, silence returned. By morning, the sun rose shyly, as if afraid of what it might see. The villagers emerged slowly, one by one. Jumo was gone. All that remained was his shattered axe, lying cracked and useless. The ground where he had stood was blackened, as if scorched by lightning. Nothing grew there anymore. Not even weeds. From that day on, no one dared harm the baobab. The villagers rebuilt the shrine at its base. Carefully. Respectfully. They brought offerings, honey, kola nuts, carved wooden dolls, the first yam of the harvest. Children were taught to greet the tree each morning. They would place a hand on its trunk and whisper, Udo, Engali, peace, Engali. And if you sat there, beneath its mighty branches, in the hush of night with your eyes closed, you could hear things. Laughter from long ago. The soft songs of ancestors. Warnings. Prayers. Whispers carried by the wind. And sometimes, a voice, deep, patient, warm, saying, I remember. Years passed. Seasons turned like pages in a sacred book. One child, more curious than the rest, spent more time with the tree than with his friends. His name was Ao. Ao loved the baobab with a quiet, thoughtful love. He would sit at its base for hours, tracing the ridges in the bark with his fingers, asking questions no one else dared to ask. Engali, he would say softly, what was the world like when people still listened to the spirits? Did my grandfather come here when he was a boy? Why do the birds never build nests in your branches? And one night, the tree answered. Not with a voice. Not with words. But with dreams. That night, Ao dreamt of walking through a world both strange and familiar. A place where trees had faces. Rivers sang lullabies. Mountains hummed. Stars bowed low to greet the wind. At the center of it all stood Engali. Not as a tree, but as a tall, ancient spirit. His eyes were deep wells of time. His skin was bark. His voice echoed like thunder over hills. Tell the stories, the spirit said. remind them. I am not the only one who remembers. When he awoke, his heart was racing. He ran straight to Mama Deka, the village's oldest woman, the keeper of herbs and secrets. He told her everything. She listened, her hands still, her eyes wide. When he finished, she placed her palm on his head. The tree has chosen you, she said, her voice trembling. From that day forward, Eo became the village's storyteller, keeper of memory, protector of the sacred baobab. He shared Engali's wisdom in the market square, in the schools, and during festivals. His stories traveled beyond Bali, across rivers, through deserts, to distant lands where even the stars listened. Even today, many still believe. If you are lost, if your heart is heavy, if your path is unclear, find a baobab. Sit beneath its branches. Place your hand upon its bark. And listen. For Engali still remembers. And he waits to share his stories with those who still believe.